What is our system of election?
Okay, fine. So I'll be sharing the screen with you so that those who don't have the book don't face any problem, right? Here we go on the Chrome. We type here.
मैम इस सिविक्स में डेमोक्रेटिक राइट्स वाला चैप्टर आएगा?
नहीं बेटा, कट गया ना वो, बट हम वो करवाना चाहते हैं
हाँ
आप।
मैम,
वो चैप्टर
कौन
बहुत
सा?
डेमोक्रेटिक राइट्स चैप्टर अच्छा है वो। आई वांट यू पीपल टू डू इट।
मैम और मैम कौन सा कटा है चैप्टर?
बस बेटा
उस
वही
सिविक्स
चैप्टर कटा है, वही चैप्टर
में?
कटा है। उसके अलावा जो है आपका उसके अलावा जो आपका जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल डिजाइन चैप्टर है, उस चैप्टर में आप
यस मैम, यस मैम।
उस चैप्टर में आपको जो है साउथ अफ्रीका का पार्ट कट गया है, ठीक है।
ओके।
Sania, we were doing what makes an election democratic, we have done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So what is our system of elections
Election.
that we have to start with, right?
Do. Yes, ma'am.
Rest all the topics, just go through these topics. Have we done this topic? This one we have done. This is a political competition, good?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Then it is fine. Very good. Okay, in the previous class we read about what is our system of elections, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. ठीक है. Can you tell me how do elections take place in our country? Anybody in the class?
After every 5 years.
After every 5 years.
5 years.
Okay, after every 5 years we have elections in our country. What do we do when elections take place? How the elections are announced? Who announces the elections? What is the provision for election taking votes?
Ma'am, election commission.
Election commission.
Election commission.
Commission.
Okay, the election commission is responsible for conducting free and fair elections in our country, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
बेटा जल्दी से आपकी अटेंडेंस। अभ्युदय, आकांक्षा, अक्षत, आनंद, अनन्या, अनन्या, who is present? Akansha Yadav?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ananya Singh is also present.
Yes, ma'am. Present.
Akshat Kumar is also present.
And Akshat is also present. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Then we have Radhya. No. Aryan Raj is there in the class.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Ashray is there in the class. No. Ayush Singh. No.
Yes, ma'am, present.
Okay, Ayush Singh is there. Bhumika Chandani.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Then Bhumika Chandani is present, right? Dhananjay is also present. Dhananjay, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Harshvardhan? Harshit?
Present, ma'am.
Ishika? Ishika, are you there? Kapil? Kuldeep? Kunal? Lavleesh is there? Mehak, are you? Haan.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Lovelace is here.
Okay, Lavleesh is there. Then Mehak is there? Manit?
No, ma'am.
Faiz? Numan? Shoaib?
Ma'am, present.
Mohammed Shoaib is present. You people
Yes,
don't keep
ma'am.
the cameras on. See, I don't pressurize you to keep the cameras on. That does not mean that I don't want it on. At least for 5-10 minutes, you can keep your cameras on and then you can switch it off. Right?
Ma'am, Mohammed Shoaib present.
Mohammed Shoaib present.
Ma'am, Noman present.
Okay. Numan is present. Let me see.
Ma'am, Mohammed Saif Khan present.
Mohammed Faiz Khan is present. Dhananjay is present. Numan is also present. Shoaib present. Navjot. Ramsha? Ramsha is not there. Ronit? Sachin?
Present, ma'am.
Sanya? Shivanshi is there?
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Shivanshi? Ujjwal? Vibhanshu? And Vishesh?
Present, ma'am.
Vibhanshu is present. Vishesh?
Present, ma'am.
Vishesh is there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What about Ujjwal?
I'm absent.
Ujjwal does not even take pain to write again Ujjwal present. He is forwarding the same message which he has used for some other class. Okay, fine. ठीक है बेटा. Coming to the election system, we all know that in our country free and fair elections are conducted by the Election Commission of India, right? Now we all know that elections are of two types. One is the Lok Sabha election and the other is Vidhan Sabha elections. In these Lok Sabha elections and Vidhan Sabha elections, two different governments are chosen. One, in the Lok Sabha elections we choose the central government or the union government, right? And in the Vidhan Sabha elections we choose the state government, right? I think this much we have discussed in the previous class.
Yes, ma'am.
Then
Yes, ma'am.
then after every 5 years these elections are conducted, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then
Yes, ma'am.
फ्रेंड मुझे सीमेंट का कट्टा रखा है वो वापस करवा. Now in other language we call these elections as general elections, right? Now the other day I told you about two types of elections. One is the midterm elections and one is the by elections. What are these midterm elections, do you know?
No, ma'am.
Anybody in the class who knows what are these midterm elections?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Beta, these midterm elections are the elections whenever the central government or the state government is dissolved. Then midterm elections are conducted for the remaining time period. Say for after 2 years, if the union government or the state government is dissolved, then fresh elections are conducted for the remaining term, not for the complete 5 years, but for the remaining term, right? Then by elections are the elections whenever there is a vacancy created, by the death or resignation of any of the member of the either of the parliament or of the legislative assembly, right?
Ma'am, what are the general elections?
बेटा आम चुनाव जिनको हम बोलते हैं, जनरल इलेक्शन मतलब आम चुनाव, ठीक है?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, उसके बाद फिर I think by elections or midterm elections are clear to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now electoral constituencies क्या होती है? हाँ, हमें पता है कि it is not possible. We all know that it is not possible to have elections at the same time at all the places together. So for the purpose of voting purpose, the whole of the country, when it is Lok Sabha election, whole of the country is divided into electoral constituencies. There are total 354 electoral constituencies in Lok Sabha, and for the assembly elections again, the state is the whole of the state is divided into electoral constituencies, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So let us do. Akansha, are you there in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
So read electoral constituencies.
Okay, ma'am. electoral constituencies.
Hmm.
You read about the people of Haryana electing 90 MLAs. You may have wondered how they did that. Did every person in Haryana vote for all the 90 MLAs? You perhaps know that this is not the case in your country. We followed an area based system of representation. The country is divided into different areas of purposes of elections. These areas are called electoral constituencies. The voters who live in an area elect one representative. Constituencies have
Okay.
within its
Hmm.
several assembly constituencies. The same principle applies.
Wait. हाँ
Okay, ma'am.
हाँ चलो पढ़ो.
The same principle applies for panchayat and municipal election. Each village or town is divided into several wards that are like constituencies. Each ward elects one member of the village or the urban local body. Sometimes these constituencies are counted as seats, for each constituency represents one seat in the assembly. When we say that Lok Dal won 60 seats in
Excuse
Haryana,
me, ma'am.
बेटा बोलिए.
Excuse me, ma'am.
हाँ जी बेटा बोलिए बच्चे.
Ma'am, she is reading wrong. She have to read from for Lok Sabha after the
yes, ma'am.
voters will. She started another paragraph.
ओके
Ma'am, she
बेटा
skipped one
आकांक्षा.
paragraph.
हाँ
Ma'am, she
अच्छा.
left one.
फॉर लोकसभा
Oh, yes.
इलेक्शंस आपने पढ़ लिया था.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am,
Ma'am,
she's
left
not
यहाँ
ready.
से पढ़ो. फॉर लोकसभा इलेक्शन से पढ़ो बच्चे.
Okay, ma'am. For Lok Sabha elections, the country is divided into 543 constituencies. The representative elected from each constituency is called a member of parliament or an MP. One of the features of a democratic election is that every vote should have equal value. That is why our country that is why our constitution requires that each constituency should have a roughly equal population living within it. Similarly, each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies. In this case, the elected representative is called the member of legislative assembly or an MLA. Each parliament constituency have within its several assembly constituencies. The same principle applies for panchayat and municipal election. Each village or town is divided into several wards that are like constituencies. Each ward elected one member of the village of the urban local body. Sometimes these constituencies are counted as seats, for each constituency represents one seat in the assembly. When we say that Lok Dal won 60 seats in Haryana, it means that candidates of Lok Dal won in 60 assembly constituencies in the state, and thus Lok Dal had 60 MLAs in the state assembly. Ma'am, हो
Very good.
गया.
Now tell me, anything in this to be explained?
No, ma'am.
Fine. Still, for Lok Sabha, here it is written 543 constituencies. Now see, if a person is contesting elections for Lok Sabha, what he will be called after being elected? What he will be called after elected?
A member of parliament.
Yes, MP or a member of parliament. And when a person is contesting elections from the state for the state assembly, what he will be called after being elected?
Member of legislative assembly.
Ma'am, MLA.
Very good. Either MLA or member of legislative assembly. I hope these two things are very clear to you people.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Just like Lok Sabha and assembly elections are conducted same way, the third tier of government, the third form of government that we have, local governments or the municipal elections or the panchayats that we have same type of elections for these also, right? The third form of the government that we have, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, just a moment. Is the recording going on?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Now see, there are two maps shown to you, Gulbarg Lok Sabha constituency and Gulbarg, it is a district in Karnataka, right?
Yes.
Right. Now, the question says, why is the boundary of Gulbarg Lok Sabha constituency not the same as the district boundary of Gulbarg? Draw a similar map of your own Lok Sabha. हाँ, वो कह रहा है कि गुलबर्ग कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी जो है यहाँ पे जो दी गई है लोकसभा की, और जो गुलबर्ग आपकी कर्नाटका डिस्ट्रिक्ट में, इनकी बाउंड्रीज सेम क्यों नहीं है, ये कह रहा है.
Ma'am, may I tell?
टेल बेटा.
Ma'am, because in the second ma'am, there all districts are shown.
Very good. And here?
And ma'am, here state boundaries are shown.
Very good.
So Gulbarg is shown little small.
हाँ, very good. Now, how many assembly constituencies are there in the Gulbarg Lok Sabha? गुलबर्ग की लोकसभा कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में कितने सीट्स हैं? टेल क्लास. Yes, class. Are?
Can you repeat again?
My question is, how many seats are there? Lok Sabha seats are there in Gulbarg constituency?
Total.
अरे गुलबर्ग में कितनी है ये पूछ रहे हैं वो.
I'm 43. 43.
गुलबर्ग रूरल में 43, then Gulbarg दक्षिण 44 and Gulbarg उत्तर 45.
45.
चलिए. Now who will read this for me? Sachin, आप read करेंगे?
Yes, ma'am.
या अच्छा रुको एक मिनट सचिन, अनन्या को पढ़ने दो. अनन्या, you are there now?
Yes, ma'am.
You read. Reserved explanation part after you finish the reading.
Okay. Reserved constituencies. Our constitution entitles every citizen to elect her or his representative and to be elected as a representative. The constitution makers, however, were worried that in an open electoral competition, certain weaker sections may not stand a good chance to get elected to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. They may not have required resources, education, and contacts to contest and win elections against others. Those who are influential and resourceful may prevent them from winning elections. If that happens, our parliament and assemblies would be deprived of the voice of significant section of our population. That would make our democracy less representative and less democratic. So the makers of our constitution thought of a special system of reserved constituencies for the weaker section. Some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. In a SC reserved constituency, only someone who belongs to the scheduled caste can stand for election. Similarly, only those belonging to the scheduled tribes can contest an election from a constituency reserved for ST. Currently, in the Lok Sabha, 84 seats are reserved for the scheduled caste and 47 for the scheduled tribes, as on 26 January 2019. This number is in proportion to their share in the total population. Thus, the reserved seats for SC and ST do not take away the legitimate share of any other social group. This system of reservation was extended later to other weaker sections at the district and local level. In many states, seats in rural and urban municipalities and corporations, local bodies are now reserved for other backward classes as well. However, the proportion of seats reserved varies from state to state. Similarly, one third of the seats are reserved in rural and urban local bodies for women candidates.
Fine.
I'm done.
Okay. Now, what have you understood, class, in this reserved constituency part? Sorry.
Ma'am, that some seats are reserved for the SC caste people and some
Okay.
seats are reserved for
And
the
some
ST
for
caste people.
ठीक है. ठीक है. Why is it reserved for these two particular communities only?
Ma'am, because they are weaker sections of the community.
Why are they the weaker sections? Why are they the weaker sections?
ma'am, because they don't get the proper sources.
Because in the past,
Yes, ma'am.
discrimination was practiced with these people, and just to bring them to the level of the general category, they were given certain privileges, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
This reservation part is one such privilege that was given to these people because
Ma'am,
हाँ बेटा धनंजय बोलिए.
ma'am, in OBC who will come?
हाँ
In OBC who will come?
बेटा आपकी आवाज समझ में नहीं आ रही है.
Ma'am, in OBC.
थोड़ा जोर से बोलो बच्चे.
Ma'am, in OBC who will come?
वो अदर बैकवर्ड क्लासेस हमने वो पढ़ा था ना, उसका मंडल कमीशन के बारे में पढ़ा था ना हमने, जिसमें
Yes, ma'am.
सोशली एजुकेशनली बैकवर्ड क्लासेस को भी रिजर्वेशन दिया गया था.
Yes, ma'am.
तो वो ओबीसी में आते हैं. ठीक है,
Okay, ma'am.
वो अदर बैकवर्ड क्लासेस में आते हैं. ठीक है, क्लियर?
Yes, ma'am.
See, when the constitution was being made at that time, many of the leaders, those who were part of the constitution framing, including Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, felt that these people, the SCs and the STs, they should be given certain reservations. There is a big story behind this also. During the freedom struggle, when because we all know that the caste system was practiced, and in many of the nationalist movements that were undertaken by Gandhiji, these people, the lower caste communities which were there, they were not made part of this freedom struggle. So just to ensure proper representation of these people, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, in the second roundtable conference, he in which happened in London, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he had put forward one this suggestion that he wanted that the British government should ensure a separate electoral system, a separate electorate for the SCs and the STs, so that they can have their own leaders and they can be confirmed that their participation, their upliftment will also be looked after by the leaders. So there, when Dr. B.R. Ambedkar suggested this, Gandhiji was quite annoyed by this thought of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, because Gandhiji felt that he said that if we are dividing ourselves, how can we fight unitedly against the British government? But then Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was firm, determined that he wanted separate electorate for the SCs and the STs, because he felt that Dalits were not properly represented. So he said that what is the guarantee that after independence also these people will be given all the opportunities and all the facilities that are given to others. So Gandhiji ensured him that you don't ask for separate electorate. We will make a provision. We will make a system where reservation is kept for these people. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was not very much convinced by this idea. He said that how do I know? Like, how do I be ensured? So Gandhiji promised him, and they signed a pact that is known as Pune Pact. Right, under this Pune Pact, this provision was initiated that there will be reservation given to these SCs and the STs, or the less represented communities which were there in the society. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
this is how this reservation system came into being. And when the constitution was being made at that time, uh, this provision was kept for the SCs and the STs to have reservations, so that they are properly represented in the elections, in the Lok Sabha as well as in the state assemblies, right?
Yes.
Right. Now,
Yes.
in one of the lines it is written that in Lok Sabha there are 84 seats reserved for the scheduled caste and 47 seats are reserved for the scheduled tribes, right? And then they say that this system of reservation was extended later to the other weaker sections at the district and local level. We know about the panchayats and the urban municipalities are there.
मम्मी इससे मैंने कुछ कहा तमीज से रागर ये पकड़ जा जा हाँ मतलब हमें क्या
बेटा क्या हो गया, बेटा क्या हो गया, कौन इतना परेशान हो रहा है? अक्षत, ओके, हाँ जी, इतना समझ में आया बेटा आप लोगों को?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
हमने ये चीज देखी है कि जो लोकल गवर्नमेंट्स हैं उसमें भी 1/3 ऑफ सीट्स आर रिजर्व्ड फॉर द विमेन कैंडिडेट, चाहे वो पंचायत के इलेक्शंस हो, चाहे वो आपके म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन, ये जो नगर निगम के इलेक्शंस होते हैं ना, चाहे इसके इलेक्शंस हो, 1/3 सीट्स आर ऑलवेज रिजर्व फॉर द विमेन कैंडिडेट्स, ठीक है? और ओबीसी जो है उसके लिए भी जो है, अदर बैकवर्ड क्लासेस के भी रिजर्वेशन जो है अब हम लोग करने लगे हैं, ठीक है? जब से वो आपका मॉडल कमीशन का रिकमेंडेशंस आए थे उसके बाद से, ठीक है? आई थिंक रिजर्व कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज इज ऑल क्लियर एंड अंडरस्टूड टू ऑल ऑफ यू.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now coming to the voters list. Can you tell me what is this voters list? Anybody? Without reading. Anybody in the class? Akanksha?
Ma'am, a list is made for those people who are eligible to vote.
Very good. See, voters list or electoral roll. These are two names which are used for an official list that is prepared by the election commission, ensuring that the names of those eligible voters are there in that list, right? Like like you people have registration for your classes, no? You have your attend, like we all have written your names section wise in different sections of class 9. So just like that, in voters list, a list is made where all the names of the eligible voters are listed in that list. Officially, that list is known as electoral roll, and commonly it is known as voters list, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now every 5 years this list is updated, because many of the people, those who are part of that list, either they die, right, and new names are added, because every year new eligible candidates, they become part of the voters list. So just this upgradation part is done after every 5 years whenever the elections are due, right? Just to ensure that all those who are eligible, they are there to vote. Names of insane people, those who are mentally not fit, or those who are criminals, their names are not the part of the voters list, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now it is written that this is an opportunity, this is an important step for it, because it is linked to the first condition of democratic election. हम ये कहते हैं ना कि democratic elections क्या होते हैं, that everyone should get an equal opportunity to choose representatives. Or how the people will get the opportunity to choose representatives? Only if they are allowed to give their important vote, right? Every vote is important. We cannot say that अरे मेरे जाने से क्या होगा, ठीक है मैं आज नहीं जाऊंगा देने के लिए वोट तो क्या हो जाएगा, सरकार तो वैसे भी बननी है. Sometimes some people have this attitude, no, casual attitude, कि अरे छोड़ो क्या करेंगे जाके, कुछ हमारे नहीं जाने से क्या फर्क पड़ेगा. वो एक बहुत पहले जब लोकसभा इलेक्शन होने थे 2014 या अभी, तो एक ऐड आती थी बहुत कॉमन, व्हाट्सएप पे बहुत वायरल हुआ था वो वीडियो, जहाँ पे एक क्लास में मॉनिटर्स का सिलेक्शन हो रहा होता है, और अगले दिन जो है कुछ बच्चे आते हैं, और उनको मॉनिटर जो है वो पनिश करके बाहर भेज देता है क्लास के। तो वो खूब ज्यादा जो है गुस्सा करते हैं कि भाई ये क्या है, मॉनिटर्स किसने बना दिए पता नहीं। तो बाहर से पीछे से आवाज आती है कि भाई जब मॉनिटर्स बन रहे थे तो आप कहाँ थे? तो तीनों बच्चे बोलते हैं हम तो छुट्टी पे थे घर पर। तो उन्होंने कहा कि बेटा जब घर पर थे, जब आपने पार्टिसिपेट ही नहीं करा मॉनिटर बनाने में, तो अब आप कंप्लेन क्यों कर रहे हो? तो दिस एड हैड अ वेरी ग्रेट मीनिंग। बहुत बड़ा बड़ा मतलब था इसका कि भाई अगर आप किसी चीज का पार्ट नहीं हो तो आप उसको क्रिटिसाइज भी नहीं कर सकते हो। अगर आपका पार्टिसिपेशन है तभी, जब आप इन्वॉल्व हो किसी चीज में, तभी तो आप उसको क्रिटिसाइज कर पाओगे या उसके लिए कुछ कह पाओगे। जब तक आप इन्वॉल्व ही नहीं हो आप उसको क्रिटिसाइज कैसे कर पाओगे? भैया हम कह रहे हैं मॉडल खराब है, पर खराब क्यों है? क्योंकि आपने अपना पार्टिसिपेशन किया ही नहीं। जब मॉडल को बनाना था तो आपने ये देखा ही नहीं कि मॉडल जो है कौन बने कौन ना बने, है ना? एम आई राइट?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक। तो इसीलिए जो है
Yes, ma'am.
इसीलिए जो है कहते हैं कि जब भी इलेक्शंस होते हैं यू शुड ऑलवेज कास्ट योर वोट बिकॉज योर वोट मे मेक अ डिफरेंस। एक एक इंसान के वोट से बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस क्रिएट हो सकता है। हमें ये बिल्कुल नहीं मानना चाहिए कि एक दो के वोट देने से क्या होगा। सभी का वोट इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, सभी के वोट की वैल्यू होती है। ठीक है?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ जी। नाउ दिस इज एन इम्पोर्टेंट स्टेप फॉर इट्स। अच्छा, हमने यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज का प्रिंसिपल पढ़ा था। यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज में क्या है? दैट एवरीबडी इज गिवन द चांस टू वोट without any discrimination. If a person is eligible, if a person is 18 years of age, then and is in right condition, mental condition, then that person does not have any criminal record, then that person has the right to vote and nobody can deny the right to vote to such people. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
चलिए,
Yes, ma'am.
who will read for me?
Ma'am, voters list.
Yes.
Am I?
चलो पढ़ो पढ़ो।
Voters list. Once the constituency are decided, the next step is to decide who can and who cannot vote. This decision cannot be left to anyone till the last day. In the democratic election, the list of those who are eligible to vote is prepared much before the elections and given to everyone. This list is officially called the electoral roll and is commonly known as the voters list. This is an important step for it is linked to the first condition of a democratic election. Everyone should get an equal opportunity to choose representative earlier. We read about the principle of universal adult franchise. In practice, it means that everyone should have one vote and each one